One, welcome to the IICA Delegation in Dominica Accountability Seminar and the 40th anniversary celebration. But before we commence our opening ceremony, let us please stand, if you're able, for the national anthem. Thank you. Please remain seated. Please remain standing, as I invite Mr. Felix Leslie to lead us into prayer. Mr. Felix Leslie.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. A pleasant good morning to everybody. I've chosen a passage taken from the book of Mark, Mark chapter 11, verses 12 through 14. I will read in your hearing. And on the morrow, when they were come from Bethany, he was hungry. And seeing a fig tree afar off having leaves, he came, if haply he might find anything thereon. And when he came to it, he found nothing but leaves, for the time of figs was not yet. And Jesus answered and said unto it, today, and leave this place, going back to do our work, people. With this on our minds, we shall now pray. Loving Father, we are so thankful for the opportunity to come before you today. We're thankful for traveling mercies you have brought us here. We thank you, Lord, for taking us through the night, and we are gathered here as your people. Father, as we come, we humbly bow before thee, and we ask, O God, that you will speak to our hearts. Help us, dear Father, to recognize the way that you have led us. And as we come to discuss matters today, and as we come, dear Father, to give an account of our stewardship, we pray that you will be with us. In a special way, O God, I commit the members of the head table, particularly those who have to preside and present today. May you bless them. May they be clear in speech, dear Father. I pray, O God, that you will bless the waiting audience, bless every participant. And as we work together, O God, we pray that you will give us productive hearts. That, O God, when the time will come, we'll give a good account of our stewardship. Take full control over the session today. Guide every individual. Bless us, dear God. And as we look forward, dear Father, to work towards the development of the agricultural sector, we bring everybody, dear God, who has to play a part into the sector. Especially the Honorable Minister, dear God, we recognize that his responsibility is awesome. But I pray that you will grant him wisdom. Grant us wisdom, dear God. Take full control. Bless us, dear God. And when the time comes, help us to give a good account of ourselves, and we will not be empty like that fig tree. We thank you today in the name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Let us say amen and amen.
You may be seated. Thank you. And thank you, Pastor Leslie. This prayer was very good in my mind. I want to acknowledge the honorable presence of Minister of Agriculture Roland Royer, Minister of Agriculture, Fisheries, Blue and Green Economy, Honorable Defoe, Minister of State in the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries and Blue Economy, representative organization, IICA, CADI, WUS, IICA staff, including past and present staff of Dominica IICA. Let me specially recognize Maureen Dominic. I think she's the longest serving assistant in IICA, probably in the region, but we will find out. I also want to recognize Kent Coppell, IICA representative in Jamaica, and we are expecting Diane Francis, IICA representative in Trinidad and Tobago. I also want to acknowledge Tony Cyril, our new technical specialist, Dominica, IICA stakeholders, beneficiaries, past technical specialists, staff of the Ministry of Agriculture, special invited guests, and those joining us virtually. Good morning. It gives me great pride to welcome you once again to this historic milestone. We're here to participate in two important events. Firstly, IICA Annual Accountability Seminar, and secondly, a celebration of 40 years anniversary of IICA in Dominica. Today, we celebrate IICA's history, its achievements, moreover, IICA's contribution to the development of agriculture sector and national development. Ladies and gentlemen, your presence here today is a testimony of IICA's partnership and stakeholder engagement approaches. I am sure many will join me when I say IICA contribution over 4 decades have been transformative. The organization has been responsive to the needs of the Commonwealth of Dominica. Climate change, policy, agricultural health and food safety, and rural development. IICA is just not simple an organization. IICA is a family, and today we applaud its contribution to the agricultural sector. So, to tell you more about IICA, I want to call to give you remarks Mr. Greg Rollins, IICA representative in the Eastern Caribbean states. Please make him feel welcome, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman and Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries, Blue and Green Economy. And permit me to adopt the protocol that has been established, but let me recognize the members of the head table, including the Honorable Roland Boyer, the Minister of Agriculture, Fisheries, Blue and Green Economy, Mr. Kent Coppell, the IICA representative in Jamaica, Mr. Tony Cyril, technical specialist of IICA here in Dominica. And I also want to recognize many of the distinguished guests that are present here. We see the representatives of our development partners, Mr. Etienne from Cardi, Dr. Paquette Anselm from WUS, and also some stalwarts of the sector. I recognize Mr. Colin Bully, Mr. Joey Peltier, Ms. Belloc, people who I would have interacted with many years ago. Ms. Pat Bidart from the Skills for Accessing the Green Economy program. The many stakeholders who have joined us from our partner institutions who have been working with us closely with us over the years. And especially invited guests. And in particular, I want to recognize the IICA staff, past and present, who are with us. And in particular, our long-standing Assistant Executive Secretary, Ms. Maureen Dominic, who, as you may be aware, is celebrating a very special milestone with us. A pleasant good morning to you all. And at the outset, let me say how pleased I am as IICA representative in the Eastern Caribbean states to be once again in Dominica on this very, very special occasion. It is my distinct pleasure and privilege to extend warm greetings to everyone who have joined us to celebrate this momentous occasion. And I do so on behalf of the Institute, our Director General, Dr. Manuel Otero, Mr. Marco Zapata, our Chief of Staff, Dr. Kurt DeLeese, our Special Affairs Coordinator for the Caribbean, and the entire IICA family. As part of our accountability seminar, as the chairman has indicated, we are here to celebrate a significant milestone, the 40th anniversary of IICA operations in Dominica, and also to submit our annual report for 2023. In my capacity as IICA representative in the Eastern Caribbean states, I'm extremely pleased to see so many colleagues, friends, development partners, and recipients of our technical cooperation programs here with us this morning. And I want to sincerely thank each and every one of you for taking time out of your busy schedules to be here with us. On June 6, 1984, the third Eastern Caribbean office of IICA was established when it opened its doors here in Dominica in the Botanical Gardens. And in fact, the office has been located there for the past 40 years. The office in Dominica, together with the established offices in 5 other member countries, those being Antigua and Barbuda, Grenada, St. Kitts Nevis, St. Lucia, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines, constitute the Institute's Eastern Caribbean States representation, with the delegation in St. Lucia serving as a hub for coordinating activities in the sub-region. Today, as we come together to mark this milestone, we are cognizant that this commemoration is more than just celebrating the passage of time. It is also about reflecting on our work as an institute and the impact it has had on the agricultural sector, rural communities, and the country as a whole. Since its establishment 40 years ago, the IICA delegation has taken the lead in implementing technical cooperation program in the country, working in close collaboration with other agricultural sector stakeholders. Indeed, the Institute, through its delegation, has strived to be a constant companion on the path towards food security, economic resilience, and sustainable agricultural development. Working alongside farmers, government institutions, and community stakeholders, the Institute has placed emphasis on offering technical know-how, capacity building, and creative solutions to the issues facing the sector in a real-time manner. Over the years, the delegation in Dominica has pursued a technical cooperation agenda fashioned towards building a more resilient and dynamic agricultural sector, with activities which span back to the early days of modernizing basic agricultural methods, and including the more recent initiatives in climate-smart agriculture, agritourism, youth engagement and empowerment, and digitalization of agri-food systems. The Institute has also pursued initiatives that fostered increases in agricultural productivity, empowered women in agriculture, modernized the agricultural health and food safety systems, supported policy development, and encouraged sustainable land management and use, all while making sure that farmers in Dominica are prepared to meet the challenges posed by a changing climate. In all our efforts as an institute, we have sought to have a positive impact on the livelihoods of farmers and rural people across Dominica, as we believe that this remains the true measure of our contribution and impact as an institute. We trust that through our interventions, many Dominicans are now better equipped to provide for their families and themselves due to the opportunities identified, the collaborations achieved, and information exchanged. Through unlocking the potential of the agricultural sector and making it a pillar of the economy and a source of pride for the people, the Institute has sought to be a catalyst for change. As we celebrate our achievements over the past 40 years, we must, however, be prepared to engage in some introspection, to look inwards, to reflect on what worked well and what has not, to find ways to deliver our programs with greater impact and reach, to be more efficient in the use of the scarce resources available, and redouble our efforts to place people at the center of our development efforts. We are also aware of the formidable obstacles that lie ahead as we look forward to the future. Our top concerns continue to be sustainable development, food security, and climate change. As an institute, we must also adjust to confront these challenges so that we can work closely and effectively with our partners and stakeholders to keep innovating, adapting, and thriving in the face of all these challenges. This morning, we are commemorating 40 years of cooperation, development, and mutual achievement. We pay tribute to the commitment of the IICA team, both past and current, who have sacrificed much to shape Dominica's agricultural landscape. In this regard, I must pay special tribute to Ms. Maureen Dominic, Assistant Executive Secretary, who on the 13th of August celebrated 40 years of dedicated and committed service to the Institute. Maureen has been the backbone of the IICA delegation here in Dominica since its establishment, and her contribution to the work of this delegation has been most significant and invaluable. I also wish to recognize the coordinators and technical specialists who have served the delegation over the last 40 years. Mr. Urban Martin, Mr. Kervin Stevenson, and Mr. Kent Coppell, and have led the day-to-day operations of the delegation and the technical cooperation program in the country. Special congratulations to Mr. Kent Coppell, who has been promoted to serve as IICA representative in Jamaica, thus paving the way for us to welcome our recently appointed technical specialist, Mr. Anthony Cyril. We are indeed confident that Tony will build upon the foundation laid by the previous technical specialist and take IICA's work in Dominica to new heights. Special recognition must also be made to my predecessors, the directors and representatives who provided oversight to the IICA delegations over the years, including Dr. Reginald Pierre, Dr. Franz Alexander, Dr. Guillermo Villanueva, Dr. Barbara Graham, Ms. Ulime Gordon, and Mr. John King. To the many development partners, key government ministries, successive ministers, permanent secretaries, and officials, farmer, women, youth organizations, community-based organizations, and other non-governmental organizations, we would not have been able to accomplish the outcomes without your partnership and support. Special mention must be made of the Ministry of Agriculture, our key ally and partner over the years. Our successes have been your successes. We also honor the tenacity and resourcefulness of our farmers and rural communities who have embraced innovative concepts and methods to guarantee a better future for all in Dominica. As we look forward to many more years of partnership, and as we continue to build a sustainable and resilient agricultural sector in Dominica, I sincerely hope that you will find today's brief ceremony enjoyable and enlightening. We express our gratitude once again for your presence here to share this moment with us, and I thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Rollins, for your remarks, for reaffirming IICA's continued support. We look forward in joining hands to tackle some of these challenges. These challenges would require collective actions and collective solutions. So thank you very much. At this time, I would want to invite you. This event is of an international nature, and we are privileged to have a recording from Dr. Manuel Otero, Director General of IICA. So it's a video recording, it's on. So I invite you to look at the screen for a video recording from the Director General.
Hi, I am Manuel Otero, Director General of the Inter-American Institute for Cooperation on Agriculture, IICA. I warmly greet Minister of Agriculture, Fisheries, Blue and Green Economy, Roland Royer, Minister of State in the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries, Blue and Green Economy, Julian Defoe, Parliamentary Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries, Blue and Green Economy, Lakeisha Joseph, Permanent Secretary Acting, Ryan Anselm, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Barbara Daly, IICA, ECS Representative Greg Rollins, and all partners and special guests. As we celebrate IICA's 40th anniversary in Dominica, I'm honored to extend greetings from our headquarters in Costa Rica and on behalf of the other 34 member states of IICA. I am delighted to partake in this special celebration with all of you. Since opening in 1984 and since marking the establishment of the third Eastern Caribbean office, the IICA office in Dominica has led the delivery of the technical cooperation agenda in Dominica, working closely with many stakeholders in the agriculture sector. I commend the dedication of past and present staff, especially Ms. Maureen Dominique, Assistant Executive Secretary, for her long-standing and dedicated service as she celebrates 40 years of service to the Institute. Over the past 40 years, IICA has played a pivotal role in agriculture development. IICA's work has greatly impacted rural development through supporting farmers, empowering women and youth, and modernizing agriculture systems. Recent efforts have focused on climate change resilience through sustainable practices. I wish to particularly recognize the strong partnership between IICA and the Ministry of Agriculture. Our gratitude extends to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and other national authorities. We take the opportunity to recognize the farmers, local groups, agro-processors, and service providers that were involved in one way or the other in enhancing the work of the Institute. Since my assumption of office as Director General in 2018, my administration has worked to enhance our technical cooperation model to support agricultural development even in challenging circumstances. IICA remains fully committed to building a competitive, sustainable, and resilient agriculture sector in Dominica. We look forward to continued collaboration with all stakeholders and friends. Congratulations to IICA Dominica on this first 40 years of service.
Thank you. Thank you. And Mr. Rollins, please relay our thanks and appreciation to the Director General. At this time, assist me in welcoming our Minister of Agriculture, Fisheries, Blue and Green Economy, Honorable Roland Royer. But before he comes, I want to tell you that Minister Royer has worked as an extension officer with IICA, as a standard officer with IICA, as a permanent secretary with IICA, and now as a minister with IICA. So please make him feel welcome.
Thank you, PS. So that means I am IICA. Permanent Secretary, Ministerial Agriculture, Mr. Ryan Anselm. Let me recognize Mr. Greg Rollins, the IICA representative, Eastern Caribbean State. Mr. Ken Coppell, IICA representative of Jamaica. Mr. Anthony Cyril, technical specialist, IICA Dominica. We have our reps from WUS, Dr. Nadia Paquette, our rep from PISLM, our CADI rep, I'm Dorian. Also have past staff of the Ministry of Agriculture. Mrs. Claudia Bellot was a former PS in agriculture. Mr. Colin Booley was a former director of agriculture as well. Mr. Joey Pelty, former staff of IICA Barbados. Mr. Phyllis Leslie, former technical officer of extension, staff of IICA, staff of the Ministry of Agriculture, stakeholders of IICA, media, everyone else, good morning. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, esteemed colleagues, valued partners, it's a pleasure to address you this morning. Today we gather here with a profound sense of pride and gratitude as we celebrate a momentous occasion, the 40th anniversary of the Inter-American for Cooperation Agriculture in Dominica. This is not just a celebration of an anniversary, it is a celebration of the enduring partnership that has shaped and strengthened our agricultural sector over the past 4 decades. 40 years ago, IICA established its presence in Dominica with a clear mission to support agricultural development and enhance the well-being of our rural communities. Over these 4 decades, IICA has become more than just a partner. It had become a cornerstone to our efforts to modernize agriculture, introduce climate-smart practices, and develop new avenues such as agri-tourism. Through its unwavering support, IICA has helped to build the capacity of our farmers, agricultural professionals, and institutions, ensuring that Dominica remains resilient and forward-looking in the face of evolving challenges. As we reflect on the past, it is fitting to highlight some of the significant contributions IICA has made to Dominica's agriculture. The modernization of farming practices stands out as a major achievement, with the introduction of innovative techniques and technologies that have revolutionized how we approach farming. Climate-smart agriculture, in particular, has been a game changer, equipping our farmers with the tools and knowledge they need to adapt to the realities of climate change. In addition, IICA has played a pivotal role in rural development, working hand in hand with our communities to improve livelihoods and create opportunities. Among the many initiatives that have transformed Dominica's agricultural landscape, IICA's efforts to improve crop varieties and livestock management practices have been particularly noteworthy. These initiatives have not only increased productivity, but have also ensured that our agriculture remains sustainable and resilient. I must underscore IICA's contribution to the formation of the National Association of Youth in Agriculture in 2003, of which I'm a founding member. IICA's contribution to the development of youth in agriculture is unmatched in the region, and I must commend them for their efforts in that regard. Moreover, the success stories that have emerged from IICA's supported programs are the testament to what can be achieved when dedication and innovation come together. In recent years, Dominica has faced unprecedented challenges, particularly in the context of climate change and natural disasters. Our agricultural sector, being the backbone of our economy, has been particularly vulnerable. Yet, in these trying times, IICA stood by us, providing the support and expertise needed to navigate these challenges. Through innovative solutions and resilient practices, IICA has helped our farmers adapt to new realities, ensuring that agriculture in Dominica remains not only vibrant, but also viable. This response to adversity is a reflection of the strength of our partnership and the shared commitment to the future of agriculture in Dominica. IICA's engagement with rural communities has been equally commendable by empowering farmers, fostering cooperation, and promoting knowledge sharing. IICA has helped to build a sense of community and shared purpose. The involvement of youth and women in agriculture, championed by IICA's initiative, is particularly encouraging as it ensures that the future of agriculture in Dominica is inclusive and dynamic. As we look to the future, we are mindful of the challenges that lie ahead: climate change, food security, and the need for sustainable agricultural practices, to name a few. However, we are confident that with IICA's continued support, Dominica can not only overcome these challenges, but also seize new opportunities for growth and development. In closing, I would like to express my deepest gratitude to IICA for their unwavering support and dedication to Dominica's agricultural development. I would like to express my deepest gratitude to Mr. Greg Rollins, IICA's representative in the Eastern Caribbean states, for his commitment to regional agricultural development and ensuring that Dominica benefits from IICA's programs. I'd also like to express my gratitude to Mr. Ken Coppell for his 15 years service as IICA technical specialist in Dominica, and also congratulate him on his ascension to the post of IICA's representative in Jamaica. And of course, I would like to congratulate my friend, Mr. Anthony Cyril, who took up the post as IICA's technical specialist in Dominica. We cannot not recognize the efforts of Ms. Maureen Dominic for decades of service to IICA, the face of IICA in Dominica. I also wish to acknowledge the hard work and dedication of all those who have been part of this journey, our farmers, extension officers, and government staff. Your efforts have been instrumental in the progress we celebrate today. As we mark this significant milestone, let us take a moment to congratulate IICA on the 40 years of excellence and partnership. We are optimistic about the future and confident that together we'll continue to achieve great things for Dominica agriculture. Thank you and congratulations once again to IICA. May our partnership continue to thrive for many years to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. There's not much I can say, but to thank you for your remarks. Moving along, we move into the testimonial, and I know there are very emotional people in the room, but please don't cry, because this testimonial is going to be very emotional, and it's going to be in three parts. We will have an organization give the testimonial, we'll have a youth champion, and we'll have an official from the ministry. So the first testimonial will be done by Ms. Vania David, President of the Dominica National Council of Women. She will be followed by Mrs. Miranda Stevenson, the Technical Officer in the Ministry of Agriculture, then Mr. Delroy Williams, founding member of the National Agriculture Youth in Agriculture, NAYA. So join me in inviting the first testimonial from Ms. Vania David.
Good morning, everyone. We know that protocol have been established. And so I just want to thank everyone for having me. You realize Mr. Anselm said it will be kind of emotional, and he have already started, so I'm trying to be very, very brief before he have me going in that area. Together we strive, together we achieve is the motto of Dominica National Council of Women. At the Dominica National Council of Women, we work on the two programs, the crisis and the Sustainable Development Program. Of my 30+ years at the Dominica National Council of Women, we want to thank IICA for having us standing and standing still at the Dominica National Council of Women. I want to start with my tenure under Mr. Joey Peltier, who has been the stalwart at the time when I came in, to see that women in agriculture proceed. And he said that was one of the mottos of IICA. So we started there. Mr. Peltier introduced Dominica National Council of Women to Mr. Kevin Stevenson, and it continues when Mr. Stevenson brought in Mr. Coppell in 2009. Our program materialized under Mr. Coppell, where he insisted that we form a CANROP group in Dominica. At that time, we were able to materialize and further work on the Kalinago program. In collaboration with the UN Women, we were able to seek funds and further under the CFLI to see to it that the women farmers know how to grow their own onions instead of the imported onions that come into the country. One of the stalwart of this program was the Northeast Women Agriculture Group, and then it continued on the ground. Mr. Coppell, as we call him, did not stop there. He said that our training was too limited, and one of the things that he continued to push, value chain, value added, more women to be trained in agriculture, the techniques of agriculture. The indigenous way of agriculture is good, but we need to proceed in going further in agriculture. And there we were able to get a set of women to go to Belize. He also introduced Jamaica. I was fortunate to travel with him and Mr. Stevenson to Guyana for a week of agriculture. And from that time, Dominica National Council of Women continued to be a partner in collaboration without being left out. Mr. Coppell was able to introduce us to other agriculture sectors that would motivate us and allow us to go further. My last travel with Mr. Coppell was last year, that we went to do a big program in Guadeloupe, and he said, we want to come back and do it even bigger in Dominica. I want to say thank you to IICA, especially Mrs. Dominic, who, even when Mr. Coppell would have us going, she would say, Vanya, are you sure you understand what Mr. Coppell say? We want to do that, and we want to do that, and you have that ready, and that's what we're going to do. And so I just want to say congratulations and happy 40th anniversary to IICA.
Ms. Vanya, you did very well. I was expecting some tears, but you did very well. At this time, I want to invite Mrs. Stevenson, Technical Officer in the Ministry, to deliver her testimonial. Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. Protocol has already been established. All my colleagues, my partners, my associates, the people I work with every day. As I look here, I see all of you looking back at me. IICA has been very, very busy in the East and the Southeast region, and there I serve as team leader for both East and at some point Southeast. We have a lot of women group. We have a lot of clusters of farmers. Specifically cassava clusters and Toloma clusters, and as Vanya indicated, IICA has been a driving force behind women in agriculture, as well as promoting farmer organization and family farm. But I would really like to zoom down on the recent years, the last 4 years specifically, where I served as team leader for the East region, and IICA had me really, really busy along with all the other projects and initiatives from our other partners. First, it was the IICA EBA project, where you had educational training for farmers, processors, community persons in the rich to reef concept, using vetiver as soil stabilization and green engineering. As you know, the East and the Southeast areas are very vulnerable, and studies have shown that they are the most vulnerable parts of Dominica, so it was quite applicable that those initiatives take place in those communities, specifically Good Hope to Petit Soufriere. It this EBA project particularly targeted Petite Sophia as you know, any little trough system where the discomfort, people in Petite Sophia are uncomfortable because of their high vulnerability, scared in case of landslide and land movement. So there was a demo plot that was established in Petite Sophia with the use of vetiver. There were a group that was formed to specifically do vetiver nursery sell vetiver plants to the other parts of Dominica for the other projects using green engineering initiatives. That group was very vibrant, and it included persons from Good Hope to Petite Sophia. There was also the training for women, youth, and other community members in utilizing materials from vetiver to do craft items, because you know, when you establish the vetiver, you have to manage and you have to care for it, and in caring for it, you're going to be harvesting or cutting back some of the leaves. So it was a system where you had value addition in terms of waste material from soil conservation to be used into craft. There was also training in climate smart agriculture and local early warning system for the participants of the groups, as well as other staff of the Ministry of Agriculture operating in the East. We also did the initiative of exporting vetiver to Antigua from the Kalinago territory. We had to harvest, clean, meet this export standard, create certification. All that was an initiative through IICA, because Antigua was also a member state participating in the EBA project. And then a year later, IICA had a publication online promoting the growth of vetiver in Antigua. I was happy to see that all of them survived, and now Antigua have vetiver to do their own soil conservation and green engineering. There's also training for persons in soap making using vetiver oil, but as you know, we cannot be promoting vetiver because of our landscape. We cannot be promoting vetiver as a soil conservation and harvest the roots for oil. So there was a little conflict in there. Small business and other Invest Dominica also contacted me with regards to doing vetiver oil, but I had to explain to them because of our topography, and we cannot have conflict in interest. We really want to promote soil stabilization and soil conservation using green engineering. And that was for the EBA project. We also had the PSILM initiative, Partnership for Soil Sustainable Land Management, with IICA again, and their farmers were targeted to do demo plots using green engineering and tree crop as soil stabilization. And there were 7 plots established in the East region, ranging from a 1/4 acre size, and some of them a little bigger, to 1/2 an acre, and some at least an acre, especially in Mopo. There's this nice plot now, but that's all what we've been trying to do over the years. We also had the partnership with the Guidon project, through which IICA was the leading entity, specifically in agro-processing and product value addition and product development. 12 agro-processors receive supporting material, from equipment to packaging material, farm inputs and tools. And it was really in an effort to make their product market ready. 2 persons from the East region attended a training in Trinidad to kind of give them the exposure in terms of getting their products market ready. Among the 12 processors, there were 4 clusters, 4 cassava clusters, and 8 individual processors received those packages. It was very timely. And if you see those beautiful package, toluma and cassava farine on the supermarket shelf, it's all in the effort of IICA and Guidon, on the Guidon project. Really beautiful. It actually makes traveling very easier for those traveling with local products. Initially, the farine was sold in transparent 1 pound, 2 pound bags. However, and every time you go to Antigua and Barbados, where's your label? What is that? Hold on, you will delay in the line. With those packaging, those moving and traveling, having an easier transition, and that includes my family who like to take farine back to the United States. So right now it's packaged, it's labeled, has a phone number, it has the ingredients, it has the quantities in package. So once you see those beautiful packaging, that was an initiative on the IICA for the guide. There was also a lot of meetings and awareness programs that of the other initiative that IICA was undergoing, that the farmers from the East could participate. In that case, let's just point out the financing facility at the NDFD, that IICA was a big initiating partner for that, at the 2% rate specifically for women, and it was a guarantee fund. So farmers from the East could participate easily under that facility. And so those were the major areas that IICA had contributed, and I'm hoping that they will continue to contribute in the East, as we are very vulnerable. Still, there's still a lot of work to happen, and sometimes I feel that the EBA project could have been extended a little further from the farm into the communities, because besides the farm, we still have a lot of vulnerability around homes, along the river edges. The farmers, the farm families still contact me. How could I assist them in getting vetiver plant? How can I guide them in terms of protecting their buffer zones and creating vetiver barriers alongside community buildings and so on? I still feel there's a lot more space and scope for that kind of work to be done, as well as the climate smart agriculture and adaptation methods for the farmers. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, IICA, for all your contribution to the East region.
Thank you, Mrs. Stevenson. I will now call on Mr. Delroy Williams.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Ministerial, Mr. Greg Rollins from IICA, Eastern Caribbean, the technical specialist for Jamaica on IICA, Mr. Ken Coppell. Yes, Mr. Ken Coppell, and Mr. Anthony Cyril, my neighbor, and now technical specialist for Dominica. Congratulations on your post. Good morning to everyone in the audience, agricultural officials, farmer organizations, farmers, media houses, well-wishers, everybody. Thank you. Good morning. First and foremost, I want to say, I don't think, if I wasn't for IICA, I don't think I would be here standing this morning in terms of their contribution to my professional and personal development. I mean, as a young extension officer arriving in the Ministerial Agriculture in 2001, I did not even know what IICA did. I knew there was this office in the gardens, and there was this sign on the door, and there was this pleasant lady. Every morning she came in and she told everybody in the yard good morning. I went into her office, and then as I developed in terms of knowledge of the ministry and knowledge of the sector, I realized that the role that IICA played within not only within Dominica, but within the region as well. And in my involvement in the youth movement in agriculture, I grew to understand even greater the contribution of IICA, not only in Dominica, but in the region. And we usually say IICA, and we leave out the last part, but I want to add, it is the Inter-American Institute for Cooperation and Agriculture and the Rural Milieu. So I want to give the full title this morning so that everybody knows. So first and foremost, I am representing the National Association of Youth in Agriculture this morning in terms of my contribution to the organization and as a youth champion in agriculture. But that title being placed upon me is really placed upon not NIA, but IICA in terms of its role in formation of NIA, its role in formation of CAFI, which is the Caribbean Agricultural Forum for Youth. And just to give a small historical background, in 2002, the Alliance on Agriculture, which is a meeting that occurs annually during Caribbean Agriculture, they gave IICA the mandate to develop youth forums across the Caribbean, not only in Dominica, but we also have Jamaica, St. Lucia, Trinidad, and Guyana, and a number of other countries. And so Mr. Malcolm Morris, who was our first president, he was selected to attend that meeting in Trinidad. And from that meeting, he came back to Dominica in 2003, and we went across Dominica speaking to young persons. The Ministerial was among those persons as well as Chief Issues Officer currently, Mr. Derek Theophil, and a number of us, and we went across Dominica and we raised awareness, and we were able to launch NIA in 2003, and then formally register NIA as an organization in 2004. In relation to that, IICA played an integral role in that, not only in terms of providing the technical support, but also in terms of providing financial assistance to NIA. And I remember Mr. Kevin Stevenson and even Mr. Ken Coppell always saying that IICA is not a funding institution, but IICA, for its role, has opened many funding doors for not only for NIA, but for many organizations across Dominica. And so I want to say thank you to them in that regard. I also want to express my thanks in relation to IICA's role in the development of NIA, not only in terms of its opening doors, but in terms of its direct assistance in relation to agribusiness training, in terms of a number of our members were able to get assistance, technical support through IICA and through its partners, particularly Nelly's Plantain Chips in Portsmouth, Big G's Pepper Sauce in the Southeast, and even their support through our project management training, and definitely in terms of their support in our project implementation. And I want to just let a little cat out of the bag right now. I know Mr. Cyril is now the technical specialist for Dominica, but back in 2006, I believe, we had a project called USE. It was Education, Welfare, and Economics in Sheep Production. And we wrote that project to the Jeff Small grants. Anybody remember the Jeff Small grants? Right, and I remember at the time, we were a very young institution, and they were asking, but why are you all want to be involved in such a project? Because it not only consisted of sheep production, but also consisted in terms of conservation, sheep conservation. Because we were looking at a particular white sheep within the Loda area. And so they wanted us to have some technical support, some backstopping. And so Mr. Stevenson, I believe at the time, wrote a nice letter to the Jeff Small grants, pledging the support of IICA in terms of assisting us in project implementation. And so that project, the main beneficiary was Mr. Anthony Cyril. And so today now he's here as a technical specialist. So as you can see, it's a full circle type of initiative. So he has a lot to thank IICA for besides just his current position. And so there's a lot of little stories like that in terms of IICA's contribution, not only for NIA, but for a number of farming organizations, a number of institutions in Dominica. I'm sure every institution in agriculture can speak to a story where IICA provided some sort of support for not only their development as an institution, but the development of the individuals within the institution. Because sometimes we look at only development in relation to the organizations, but when you develop the capacity of the individuals, you also assist in the development not only of the institution, the individuals, their families, the farm families, the rural community. And that is why I wanted to stress earlier the importance of the rural milieu. Because when you support agriculture, you support not only just the sector, you support the development of the entire rural community. So once again, I want to thank IICA for that contribution. And I also want to thank not only our local partners or the local employees of the IICA, but also want to thank Miss Unome Gordon, who at the time was at St. Lucia, and Valerie Donat. I want to send my regards to her as well, because she played a pivotal role in the development of not only of NIA, but of the regional forums. And on behalf of the forums in Antigua, St. Vincent, St. Lucia, Trinidad, Guyana, Jamaica, and other islands, I wanted to say an extreme thank you to IICA, and I hope that as Mr. Cyril continues in his role as technical specialist, we can develop, further strengthen, our partnership, And I look forward, as NIA now is in a current state of rebranding and rebuilding, I look forward to the continued partnership between these two institutions. So once again, thank you everyone, and thanks to IICA for their contribution.
Thank you, Mr. Delroy Williams. These testimonials truly demonstrate IICA's influence and impact. If I open the floor for more testimonial, Mr. Blandford and others will join. But just to say thank you, IICA. And moving along with the program, the presentation of the 2023 annual report, the accountability seminar. This is the moment I believe we're here, and this is the time we hold IICA accountable, but not only IICA, but the ministry as well. We work hand in hand. And it gives me great pleasure to invite our friend, my friend, and colleague, Mr. Ken Coppell, IICA representative in Jamaica. It pains me to say that, but it's reality, and we applaud him for his growth, but please make him feel welcome. So Ken Coppell, present.
Thank you, Mr. Ansem. I'm always one that you ought not to say protocol has been established. So forgive me for having to recognize members of the head table and a few other persons as I do my presentation. Let me first recognize the Honorable Minister, Roland Roye, the ECS representative, Greg Rollins, PS, as well as Master of Ceremony, Mr. Ryan Ansem. We have a number of organizations here, the current and new technical specialist, Mr. Anthony Cyril. I see my friend, Mr. Bully, Mrs. Bellot, Dr. Packet Ansem, Nadia Packet Ansem, my old friend Leslie, and of course Dorian Etienne. We go a long way from the way back in times of Cardi, and many other persons here. I also want to recognize Ms. Dominic, who has not only been a support to IICA, but a good friend. So I think we have to recognize persons like Maureen. She works from behind the scenes, but very, very important to the organization. All right. I see Mr. Leslie going to leave us. So Mr. Leslie, thanks for the invocation, and we are happy that you were part of us. I know you have to leave, and thanks again for that. All right. I also want to do a little break because it's important. I don't believe in coincidence, but today was a funny day. I'll tell you why I say that. IICA had a program where we empower youth, and we talk about youth leadership in agriculture. And the 3 persons that participated in the program actually came up. Well, one hasn't come yet. The Honorable Minister did a youth leadership program with IICA. We had Miranda Stevenson, and we had Tony Ansem. There are 3 persons that were formally, Anthony Cyril, that actually participated in the program which empowered youth and young leaders in agriculture. And it's just interesting that all 3 of them will be addressing us during this important moment. So I just wanted to make that observation. I also want to correct you, Minister. You know, years has passed quick. I did 16 years at IICA in Dominica. So I don't know where a year got disappeared somewhere. And actually this morning, I was shaving and I said, boy, I think it's time to get rid of those white beard. And he said, nah, let me leave my white beard. It's a sign of growth. When I saw Dorian this morning and I saw my friend Don Corriette, I'm happy that I left it. Because it's also a sign of some level of something in the room. So I'm happy to have kept it. Today I'm going to present the achievements of 2023. I just want to make that observation. The intention is not to highlight or you call it count marbles, or to declare our contribution in a way of just recognizing what we're doing, but recognizing what we're doing in light of where we see and how we move the agricultural sector. But to understand the purpose of the accountability seminar is we giving an account. And we always say it's not an IICA accountability seminar, PS. It's a ministry having an accountability seminar for us to indicate our contribution to the national agricultural agenda. So that's important to understand. So we're going to present what we have done in 2023, as well as give ourselves the opportunity to discuss how we move forward in the subsequent years. So today I know we will touch a little bit on 2023, but I also want to just remind you of some of the IICA areas of technical cooperation and strength. And it's important to note that IICA continues work in the area of innovation and bioeconomy, climate action and agricultural sustainability, territorial development and family farming, agricultural health, safety and quality of foods, and international trade and regional integration. We also play an important area that we focus on is area of gender equity and youth and agri-food digitalization. So these are 7 among some of the thematic areas that we have been placing emphasis. And given those areas, we have had a number of programs. And I think it's important to recognize, and I think Delroy made the point, and I just want to reiterate it, we are not a funding agency. We provide technical cooperation, but most important, a lot of what we do is through partnership and contribution of donor agencies. So what I have done is to indicate what we call the externally funded project, meaning that we have certain partners or donors that will contribute towards the technical cooperation program. And in 2023, we had a number of externally funded projects, and I'll just list them quickly. FAO supported project. We had a project in terms of building capacity in Dominica CMOS value chain. We also worked in another FAO project towards building export-ready micro and small medium-sized exporters to access regional and international market. It's kind of small. Okay. Well, I'll just read out so we'll capture what's on the screen. Work with ITC, there's the International Trade Center under phase 2 of the EU-funded Alliance for Coconut Industry Development in the Caribbean project. Very important over the last couple of years is working with the Partnership Initiative on Sustainable Land Management under a project funded by the United Nations Environment Program, UNEP, entitled Sustainable Land Management in Dominica, as well as strengthening resilience of agriculture, lands, and forests in Dominica. We also had, as Miranda indicated, the CBF-funded project, strengthening coastal and marine climate resilience through upland and coastal ecosystem-based adaptation and community engagement. And last but not least, we had the UN Trust Fund for Human Security, where we had a project building effective resilience for human security in the Caribbean countries. In terms of IICA Direct program, we had the International Trade and Regional Integration Program towards boosting economic development in the Caribbean for access to export markets by micro, small, and medium-sized agri-exporters. And we also had, under the climate change program, the Climate Responsive Agricultural Forum. And we have Nikelia, we always forget about Nikelia is part of us in Dominica that is leading on that initiative across the region. So that takes me to just highlighting some of the areas that we consider to be achievements or products that we would have delivered in 2023. And under the I'm not going to read out what's on the screen. I'm just going to give a sort of a synopsis of the various areas, because obviously we would have copies circulated at some point of the annual report to everybody. So just highlight, under the United Nations Trust Fund, and as a project that talks about building effective resilience for human security in the Caribbean countries, Dominica was one of the beneficiary countries. And we did a comprehensive market study. And what that study involved is not a report. It's a study where we actually took a group of women entrepreneurs, agro-processors, and farmers, and we walked them through the market. I see my friend from Warner here. We walked them through the market to understand the market, what the market is looking for, to look at other products similar to their products, for they themselves to assess their products against other regional and international products. So they themselves could be a lot more aware as to what the market needs, is not what they want to produce. So we did this study in consultation with them, and because of this study, we were able to support in terms of enhancing their product with a focus on the labeling and packaging, because we all know that people buy with their eyes, and thereafter would determine the quality based on the taste and repeated use. So we also look at the issue of standards, because if you want to trade across the region, you have to meet certain basic standards. I see Lenora from the Bureau of Standards here represented. Oh, and I also see Mr. Julian joining us. So sorry, Mr. if I missed you earlier. We also work towards developing a directory of local buyers, because it's important to be able to reach your distributors and buyers. So we developed a directory of local buyers so that they can use that to be closer to the buyers and the distributors. As you mentioned, in terms of the FAO CMOS value chain, really again to strengthen the capacities of the CMOS producers and technicians on best practice for CMOS production, to assess some of the potential sites for commercial CMOS production, and to validate the findings of the value chain assessment conducted within the CMOS subsector. And that was something that was supported under the technical actions to support the COVID-19 agri-food response for sustainable development of competitive and resilient value chains, and that was implemented by FAO. And we always have to make mention that whatever we do it in close collaboration with the ministry, and in that case, we worked very closely with the fisheries unit. Under that project, we provided 2 field-based training workshops in sustainable CMOS production, and that was undertaken sometime in May in Kalibishi and Granby. And we also did an assessment of 14 sites across the country to determine their suitability for CMOS production. We had a stakeholders validation workshop, and we assessed the value chain, look at some of the challenges and some of the opportunities to improve the CMOS products. And in Granby, we assisted them in designing and building a facility for drying of CMOS. Most of you know that CMOS is a product of the sea, but once you get it, you have to deal with it like any other processed product. So we had to dry the CMOS and dry it in a safe environment, and we're using natural light to dry. So we designed a facility for the Granby persons to dry their CMOS. As well as under FAO, we had an export-ready project, and again, a lot of the emphasis is on micro and medium-sized enterprise. What we really attempt to do, first, is to give the exporters an opportunity to interface with other exporters, interface with the market, not just in Dominica, but on the regional and international scene for trade events and exchange and market exploratory programs. So what we did was to identify some agro-processors, and we assisted them in accessing of small equipment to enhance their efficiency. I don't want to make mention of the persons that benefited under the project, but importantly, what we tried to do is to build efficiency and effectiveness of how some of the agro-processors go about their processing. So we did some machinery, we improved their product as well as their profiles. Because right now we're into the digital age, we're into the e-commerce, that's where the market is. And to get persons onto the market, we have to improve the profile, not just of the business, but of the people involved in the business. And in some cases, establishing business accounts is critical so that they can access their payments for their product as well as distribution of their products. Another project that we work closely with under the ITC Coconut Alliance 2 project, and we were engaged to assist in the capacity building, and it wasn't a national project, it was a regional project, but Dominica was also a beneficiary country. We supported the capacity building effort. First, what we did is to do a true assessment of the training needs for the beneficiaries, and from that, we design trainings to suit those persons. So we worked with various parties like the NDFD, the Bureau of Standards, and as well as additional resource persons that we recruited to have training on market opportunities, e-commerce, looking at the issue of digital marketing and market access, understanding the trade laws. So we had a lawyer doing that, and focusing on issue of GMPs, GAPs, and the vending of coconuts and the processing of coconut products. We also went ahead to support some of the agro-processors in terms of improvement of labels. And again, as I indicated, because we're promoting a digital platform, we have to have good footage of the products, so properly labeled, have some beautiful profiles. So we worked very closely with the agro-processors in developing the concepts with them. We didn't develop it for them, we developed it with them. And once they were happy with it, then we provide them with their labels and packages. I see my friend Don Corrett is here. We worked with non-traditional partners like the Dominica Red Cross, interestingly, and provided the kind of technical support. And they had a project supported by the Japanese government. And we actually assisted them in identifying, doing some assessment to, again, we focus on building resilience among the women farmers. And then we did some training in water management, soil management, and Nikele actually was the one that facilitated the training with the Red Cross. We hope to continue with some of these the first responders, because first response is not just providing food, but allowing person to be able to produce their own food. So that's something that we are moving more and more into in helping some of our vulnerable groups to be able to respond after a storm. And that is something that we are happy to continue to work with the Red Cross. I think very importantly, and I'll try to summarize it, it's very difficult to summarize this activity, working with the Partnership Initiative on Sustainable Land Management. I saw Mr. James was there earlier, he may have left. We worked very closely with PISLM over the last couple of years, and in 2023, some of the major activities was really to build the capacity, but more so to assist in the transfer of the technology on farms. And what we did was to build a capacity within the ministry in areas of adaptive technologies, sustainable land management methods. And I see Mr. Nation at the back of his cap. He was the lead person in, first of all, developing a package of the technologies, developing training materials, and then building the capacity within the ministry. And now the ministry personnel would have trained the farmers in classroom as well as on farm. I see my good friend here, Mr. Blanford, was one of the key foremen that we used to actually assist in the installation. We did some installation across the island, looking at different approaches. We used the green engineering, the vectiver, the counter drains, the step-down drains. And in the south, because there's a lot of stones, we use the stone terrace and so on. And what we did, it was a risk, but we did nonetheless, was to train the farmer and his workers to do the installation under the guidance of the foreman, and they were paid to do it. So we employed the farmer to improve methods on farm, and that was a very successful model. And it's something that we need to look moving forward, because he learned how to do it, he did it, and he will continue to maintain it and doing it. And that is something that we saw worked, and I'm very happy that we can report that we have a number of over 35 farms with some adaptation technologies being installed on their farms. Again, looking at PISLM, we move in the area of enhancing farmers' access to credit, developing their business models and business plans. We develop a number of business plans for farmers, but we actually train them in terms of microfinancing, access to microfinancing, management of finance, as well as building efficiency in your documentation and so on. And in the area of standards, we worked with the Bureau and Dexia in developing a fresh produce inspector's manual. We need to have consistency in how we do things in terms of inspection. We cannot leave it just to the eye. So we develop a series of protocols and procedures for inspectors to do the inspection of fresh produce based on the standards that are expected. And we develop a manual as well as training of those those technicians from the Bureau of Standards and Dexia. Continue along, under the U.S. Trust Fund for Human Security, we did, well, I think I mentioned that already, so I will skip that. Now, IICA continue to support events across the region and internationally, and I wouldn't want to go through all, but very importantly, we have been allowing the countries through our donors and partners to participate in important meetings, SPS, Codex, training. We have had a series of training throughout the region. So what we do in the various thematic areas, we try to facilitate as much as possible the participation of our persons, our technicians, our farmers, our exporters in some of the training. So with that, these are just in a nutshell some of the achievements over the last, well, in 2023. And before I leave, let me also congratulate the IICA Dominica on 40 years. It's sung long, but trust me, that time flies. Myself and Maureen, when we entered IICA, we had our hair. Well, we're still in IICA, and you realize that's the only missing thing that we came in with. But nonetheless, I think it's a very important milestone. So thanks again, and we look forward to your continued support and contribution in terms of the national technical agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kofel. At this time, I open the floor for some brief comments, suggestions, and recommendations. And the floor is open. Do we have a mic that we can pass around? If there's none, okay. So we do have a mic, so we'll pass it around. Mrs. Bellot? Well, yeah. Well, yes, if you wish. For the purpose of the camera, we'll want you to come. Yeah, yes.
Okay. Good morning to everyone. Good morning to the head table, and I want to recognize all the distinguished persons at the head table. I just want to congratulate IICA on 40 years of existence in Dominica. While I was permanent secretary, I worked very closely with IICA, and I must say I was always impressed with their professionalism and the techniques that they tried to pass on and impart to the agricultural sector. I just want to give two examples of products that I recently saw that I am sure were products from or beneficiaries from IICA's efforts. And one was the packaged farine from the women of the East. I recently bought a package at Astafan's, and I was really pleasantly surprised and impressed with the product. In my earlier days in agriculture, most of you would know I worked at the Produce Chemist Lab, and this is one of the things, well, this was one of the areas that we promoted, agro-processing, particularly among women and small business. And it was a pleasure for me to see the product on the market. I also recently went to the OECS agro-processors exhibition at the stadium forecourt. And again, I was really pleasantly surprised and impressed with all the small businesses who are doing agro-processing. At the time when I worked at the Produce Chemist Lab, I always felt we were laboring in vain, but now I see some of the benefits and I see some of the work that other organizations have put in, and I just want to say congratulations. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Bellot. And I believe that's it. I don't see any hands. But before we go into the next agenda item, I also want to acknowledge we consider him IICA staff. To me, I supervise him. I always tell him he's more than IICA staff than quarantine. Peter Hill has been with IICA as well. So I want to acknowledge him. I felt that he gave IICA 70% and he gave us 30%, but that's good. So thank you very much, Mrs. Bellot, again. At this time, we want to thank Coppel for his presentation and presenting the work plan of IICA. Ladies and gentlemen, before we hand over the annual report to the Minister of Agriculture, a token will be presented to the Minister from IICA representing 40 years of collaboration. And I want to invite Mr. Rollins to do these two presentations. First, we will do the token, and we will present the annual report. So, Mr. Rollins. Tony, take your report. Huh? What is it? Thank you, Mr. Rollins. Minister, I wonder in which office that will be, if it's in my office or yours. So, but thank you again. For an organization to succeed, a good team and staff is essential. And so I am pleased that this is being done today. I now call on Mr. Rollins to lead us in this agenda item. That is the moment where we recognize the staff. So, Mr. Rollins, please, again.
Thank you very much, PS. As an institute, IICA has placed great emphasis on ensuring that we have a strong team, that we have strong staff. Our human resource is our most important resource. All that we do depends very heavily on the capacity of our staff. We are not an institute with a lot of funds, and therefore we depend on having dedicated and committed people to get the job done. You would have seen Mr. Coppell present the outputs of so many projects, and you would have heard about the work that IICA is doing in the various regions, the products that are being produced. But very often, people don't know what has to happen behind the scenes for that to happen. Items have to be procured, a lot of paperwork has to be managed, a lot of communication has to be done to organize events, financial reports have to be prepared, people have to respond to audits. So much things that people don't see that are done by our team. I know very often we see the people who are in the front line. And today, therefore, we are very pleased to be here to recognize long-standing service of one of our team members, Ms. Maureen Dominique. Maureen joined the IICA delegation here on the 13th of August, 1984. Now, some of us in the room, I asked you, where were you in 1984? I see some that will not even been around. That does put places in perspective how long she's provided dedicating the committed service to this issue. And while we focus and we applaud long-standing service, in Maureen's case, it is not just about long-standing service, it's about quality service. It's about performance, it's about dedication and commitment, sacrifice that she has done every day. As representative, I can attest to the work that is being done by this delegation here in Dominica. IICA as an institute has placed great emphasis on resource mobilization in recent years. And Dominica has had, and you would have seen Kent present, a number of externally funded projects. Externally funded projects bring their own demands in terms of what you have to do to ensure that you're accountable, you're transparent, and you respond to the needs of the donors. And I can tell you that that required that the small delegation here in Dominica ended up managing sometimes more resources than many of the bigger delegations in the Caribbean region, with 2 people. And I know a tremendous sacrifice will be made by Kent and Maureen, working Saturdays, Sundays, to meet deadlines, to get financial reports in, to get the job done. And this is what Maureen has been doing for the past 40 years. She also mentors and shares with a lot of the young assistant executive secretaries. She briefs them, she helps them, and she's able to relate to people in a very humane way, very pleasant, affable, but also very efficient and firm when she has to be firm. And therefore, today I'm extremely pleased to be here for this very special occasion where we recognize her 40 years of service. And I want to invite her to come to the front. Yes, Maureen, come to the front. To receive her certificate and pin. And let me come to the front. Yes. It's a very unique pin. It says coffee, not any of these. I will have to lift 100 and get one of these. And permit me to read aloud what the certificate says. Certificate of Recognition. The Director General of the Inter-American Institute for Cooperation and Agriculture awards this certificate to Maureen Dominica for her 40 years of service of local personnel, issued at IICA headquarters in San Jose, Costa Rica on August 2024. Congratulations, Maureen. Oh yes, this is sorry, this is Anthony. I don't.
Yeah?
I can answer. A few words. A few words.
Good morning, everyone. I won't be long. Just to say that how would I say it? It is a pleasure working with IICA, for 40 years. I do not have many more to go, so I will continue enjoying the few years that I have left with the wonderful people at IICA. And I just want to say thanks, Mr. Coppell, for putting up with me in my bad days. It has not been easy. We have, bad days and good days, but we managed throughout the years. And I just want to say thanks, and it's a pleasure working with IICA IICA is 80 years. And yeah, I did half of it, 40 years. So I don't know who else can do that. Anyway, thanks a lot, everyone.
Thank you, IICA, and I think we should give a round of applause again for achievements. Thank you very much. Remarkable, remarkable. At this time, we've come to the close of our seminar and celebration of 40 years. I want to call on our new technical specialist, Mr. Tony Cyril, to deliver closing remarks. Mr. Cyril.
Morning, everybody. Feels different being on the head table. But it's a wonderful time we've had together celebrating 40 years of dedication, progress, and accomplishment. Today, we not only celebrate the historic milestone, but also reflect on the path of IICA Dominica delegations that had led us here. As we wrap up our seminar today, I'd like to express my heartfelt gratitude to each and every one of you joining us this morning, as well as for your steadfast commitment and support over the years. IICA exists today as a result of the people, joint effort, both past and current. As we say people, I want to give thanks to our DG, Dr. Otero, for the consistent support to the ECS group and Dominica by extension. Greg Rollins, our rep for the ECS, for his steadfast contribution and stewardship of the ECS. Minister Roy, my longtime friend and colleague, for being present today and participating and giving such a powerful and impactful speech. To the PS for accepting to chair our session and did a pretty good job at it, even giving us a few corrections as we went along. To those who gave testimonials, Delaware especially for bringing out our secrets at NIA. Miss David and Miranda, thanks for giving that support. To the media, for making sure that the world sees the good job that IICA has done and the collaborative work we are doing with all the other partners. And to everyone, to our partners, Dorian Etienne, Dr. Paquet Anselm, I saw you and James from PISLM, our new partners, NBD, which will be sooner or later you'll know the good work we are doing together. And most of all to the beneficiaries and to past and present staff who have made sure that the work we have done was successful and continue doing some great work. As we're speaking of people, I think we cannot be remiss of me to not again mention a few people who have been highlighted today. First, let's start off with Kent. Kent Erson Coppel. Kent, we bid farewell to you, and you have served as the cornerstone of the delegation in Dominica for 16 years. Your dedication, leadership, and passion have created a lasting impression, not just in the institution, but on the landscape of Dominican agriculture. And everybody can attest to that. We are really grateful for your numerous efforts, and while we shall miss you dearly, we wish you all the best as you embark on your next chapter in Jamaica. I think Jamaica getting a good man there. Secondly, Maureen, today we honor not only your years with us, but also the significant impact you've had on the institution. For 4 decades, you have been a rock of strength, a fountain of wisdom, and a brilliant example of what it means to be a really committed professional. What you contributed have impacted every aspect of the institution and will be felt for many years to come. People speak of Maureen whenever they step in IICA office. That can be ensured. You have not only ensured the success of IICA, but ensured the success of agriculture in Dominica. Because people may see you just as IICA, but really and truly, your work you're doing is to build around the ag sector in Dominica. So you are still working in the ag sector for 40 years. Not many of us can say that we have been in agriculture for 40 years. And you have been in agriculture for 40 years. And still going on. So for sure, you are inspiration for your colleagues there in Dominica and in the region. As we talk about this 40-year journey, IICA has served as a light of agricultural development, collaboration, and innovation in Dominica and throughout the Americas.
Our achievements over the years have been founded on our unwavering commitment to transparency, accountability, and the pursuit of excellence. Today's session demonstrated that accountability is the foundation of our success, allowing us to establish trust, collaboration, and significant advancement in the ag sector. As we move forward, let us carry with us a lesson learned over the past 40 years. I ask you all to continue to hold us to a high standard of responsibility, ensuring that our actions are consistent with the efforts of promoting sustainable agricultural growth in Dominica and the region and the Americas by extension. Celebrating 40 years is more than just looking back. It's about imagining the future we want to build. And as we look ahead, I am both honored and delighted to take on this new post of technical specialist. I know there are big shoes to fill, considering the achievements of my predecessors, Mr. Mate, Mr. Stevenson, and Mr. Coppell. And I recognize what comes with it. I'm determined to build on the solid foundation that has already been created. Together, we'll continue to push the envelope, innovate, and strive for excellence in everything we do. So in closing, I'd like to thank every one of you here today for your devotion, passion, and commitment to the ideals that constitute to the IICA Dominica Delegation. Here's to our next 40 years of expansion, innovation, and success in collaborative efforts. So, safe travels. I look forward to continuing this adventure for another 40 years with every one of you. Thank you very much, and let's have a snap.
Thank you, Mr. Cyril. That brings closure to our accountability seminar. But before we go to refreshments, I would want to invite you to take a group photo. And I think this area is well fitting to take the group photo. We have our happy 40-year anniversary, the banner. And so, please, if we can, and then after the group photo, I'll invite you for refreshment. So thank you very much. We want to thank the media and everyone. Thank you again. That's where you want to take. Huh? Yeah. Oh. Okay. Oh, yes, yes. We should and maybe we should Maureen? Maureen? Yes.